You got Stitcher? Well, we're on it, so get it! Southsider Studios now on Stitcher. Stitcher is an award-winning provider of news and talk radio for your mobile phone. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Hi, this is Kyle from Full Body Cast, and you're listening to the Southsider Studios podcasting system. For more great podcast programming, visit southsiderstudios.com or search Southsider Studios on iTunes.
Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Hello, Cinesmackers, and welcome back to Cinesmack. This is bout number 11. I am your host, Mike, and I am joined by my co-hosts. We'll start off with Gabriel Wald.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
Tom Haggis.
Booga booga, everybody.
Mr. Donald Pleasance.
I told everybody!
I'm a big fan.
And our guest host, since the untimely demise of Mark Johnson on his way out to the Lost Island by rowing on a piece of cardboard, Tosh Dillinger.
Hi, I'm wearing my William Shatner masks for this podcast.
Oh, very nice. You sound really well through it.
Thank you.
yeah. Your heavy breathing is really good.
Are you calling from the space station by chance?
Well, if you guys forgot, this is Halloween 78 versus Halloween 07. And I have to say, I can't wait for this. Halloween is my favorite horror film. And I'm not a fan of the genre at all. But this is like one of my favorites, right next to The Thing. Thing's probably number 2, maybe. So, yeah, let's get the ball rolling.
Ladies and gentlemen, hackers and slashers, welcome to bout number 11 of Cinesmack. Tonight, it's the psychopathic versus the sexually active. In the first corner, from 1978, directed by John Carpenter, starring Donald Pleasance, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Nancy Keys. Halloween! In the second corner, from 2007, directed by Rob Zombie, starring Malcolm McDowell, Scout Taylor Compton, and Tyler Main. Halloween!
Let's kick it off with writing, and we'll start with, well, Tosh, you know what? You're our guest host, so let's start off with you.
I have to take off my mask first. I'm suffocating.
Okay.
Okay, let's start with Halloween 1978. What I didn't like about writing in that movie, this is probably my biggest pet peeve, and we talked about this the other night, is so Michael Myers jumps the car and then takes the car 120 miles to town, and then he's driving through town for the next couple of days. Doesn't he have to get gas sometimes? No, but the writing was awesome for the whole thing. It was they didn't show anything like blood wise. I thought that was really creative, or maybe that was a directing choice. But the death scenes were cool, and I really preferred the writing in that one versus the new one. The new one, I don't know. I had a hard time. They're doing the whole backstory of why Michael was a kid and why he got the way he was. And I don't know. They're trying to like make us feel for him in a way, and I didn't really appreciate that because it's supposed to be a horror movie, and I didn't really want to feel sorry for the killer. So.
Okay. So 1 for 78, huh?
Yes.
All
Going
right.
78, definitely.
All right. Let's go to Tom Haggis.
Hey, all right. Before I get into this, I have a quick maintenance thing I need to take care of. I need to offer my apologies to John Cregan, who was the lead sound designer on Birdemic. In the last podcast, I criticized him for not using a microphone properly. And going back and listening to the podcast, I realized that my microphone was off. and the entire podcast on my end was recorded through the tiny, crappy laptop mic I have. So, John Cregan, 1,000 apologies. Stuff happens. I'm not sure how it could happen for an entire movie, but it's neither here nor there. Now, the writing for Halloween. We were just talking about a second ago. I've never seen any of the Halloween movies before this, so I am not a fan of horror movies at all. I don't really get them very well, and they don't have much of an effect on me. And so I thought it would be kind of interesting because I assume everybody here saw the '78 Halloween first, and then they saw the new one second. I assume, is that the way it went, everybody?
Yep.
Yes, actually.
Okay. So I decided I was going to try a little experiment, and I watched the Rob Zombie one first. And then I went back and watched the original one.
Oh, my.
And I didn't like the Rob Zombie one very much. And then I watched the original. I was like, well, Rob Zombie like ripped off like half this movie. It's like, almost some of the shots are and all that. We'll get into that into directing. And I think I'm going to give the writing to the newer Halloween because one of the problems I have with horror movies is when the guy goes around, he slashes up 5 or 6 people, and the psychiatrist comes out and is like, I looked into his eyes, and it was all pure evil. And I'm like, really? There's like no motivating factor for slicing up 6 people. I mean, there's got to be something there. And as much as I didn't like really either of the movies, I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I thought that Rob Zombie at least tried to bring up some of the backstory, and I kind of appreciated that more just because if you have somebody going around and killing people with just no reason willy-nilly, it's a horror film. If they actually have a motivation for their killing, then it's a thriller. So I would say that I'd give it to Rob Zombie because I like knowing that my killers are not just, doing it for kicks. I like to know that my killer has, an end goal. And so that's why... That's why the Rob Zombie gets my vote for better writing, best writing.
All right. Let's go ahead and find out what Donald Pleasance feels about what Tom just said.
Well, I have to say that I really kind of disagree with Tom in some ways on the writing. I think it's cool that he watched them in different order, but there's a lot of things in Rob Zombie's Halloween that I didn't like, and I think Tosh touched on it briefly in the beginning when he's talking about the fact that for the first 18 minutes, we're getting sympathy from Michael Myers, whereas in John Carpenter's version, a lot is left to the audience and what they fill in for the backstory and actually some of the visuals, which we'll talk about later, but looking at the running time of these two films, the Rob Zombie version comes in at 109 minutes, and the original Halloween comes in at a real tight 91 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I think that 18 extra minutes of exposition on Michael Myers, to me, sets the whole character up in a different way. And I really think that the writing it's very tight in the first one, and the film does exactly what it wants to do. So definitely 78 for me.
All right. Last but not least, Gabe.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting. I felt like the original Halloween was a little bit on the campy side, but I'm not sure that bothered me that much because it's a horror movie, and a lot of the films in the horror genre, at least at that time, were a bit on the campy side. So that didn't bother me too much. I didn't feel like there was a lot of character development in the original. It just seemed like we're introduced to these characters, but we don't know a lot about them, including important characters like Michael Myers. We don't really know anything about his origin at all, except we do see, obviously we see that event where he kills his sister. We see him as a child, but we don't know what motivated that event. We don't know how he got to that point. We don't know why he did what he did. And then when he escapes, we don't even know how he escaped. All of a sudden, he's just out. But I don't know that those things necessarily bother me so much. I think I'm with Sam in that it kind of served its purpose. It told a story, it told it succinctly, and it got the job done. It scared us enough to get the job done. Now the Rob Zombie version, the newer version, is obviously it's interesting because he definitely takes his own view of it, and it's definitely more Michael Myers centric than the original. We see all about the formation and development of Michael Myers. But again, it's kind of strange. I think Tosh said, that we're almost made to feel sympathy for the killer. And at some point that falls apart. It's like you build up this character and you see how this character became what he became. But then what he becomes is so reprehensible and so unforgiving that you don't really care anymore. It's like I was caring about this character, and now he's a killer, and I don't. And so I feel like there's a little bit of a letdown in the Rob Zombie version in that respect. I don't think we need to know so much about who Michael Myers is, because not knowing why he's doing what he's doing makes it scarier. So I think in the end, my vote is for the original, the 78 version.
Okay. All good points. Your first little smactoid here is, according to screenwriter-producer Deborah Hill, the character of Laurie Strode was named after John Carpenter's first girlfriend. And where is it? Oh, here we go. From the '07 version, it was originally going to be another sequel entitled Halloween Retribution, starring Lindy Booth, but the idea was scrapped and they went with Rob Zombie's vision. So, yeah, there you go. Let's go ahead and move on to, I lost my sheet, acting. And we will start with, let's go with Tom.
The girl in the original Halloween, what was her name? Jamie Lee Curtis, I believe her name is. I think you need to keep an eye.
Maybe you've heard of her.
Keep an eye on her. I'm expecting big things. I'll talk about this more when we get to directing. But the horror genre, there's kind of a reason when filmmakers get started, their first movie is almost always a zombie movie, because it's kind of simplistic, and a zombie being a form of a horror movie, but it's kind of a way to be able to tell a movie and reach people on their very primal, the very primal feeling of not getting killed and survival. And it's I think that's one of the reasons why I'm turned off by horror genre in general, is that it doesn't connect with me, in a real kind of intellectual way. And I understand that's why some people like it, and that's fine. I'm not saying they're bad people or anything, but for some reason the acting that goes into the horror movies is usually not that great either. I mean, there seems to be so much put into trying to like shock and scare, and after decades of horror movies, we're just kind of getting numb to it. And so Rob Zombie is like, well, I got to show more and more. And I just, as far as the acting goes, it doesn't seem very genuine. I've got to pick one. Jesus. I'm probably going to have to say I'm going to give it to the original Halloween, because the opening scene of the new Halloween in the kitchen with the kid and the dad and all that stuff was just so bad. I mean, it was really, really bad. And we had talked about this last time, where I was wondering why is horror the only genre that their fans like bad horror movies? They kind of embrace these really bad movies. And I'm starting to realize that horror movies themselves are typically usually pretty bad. The scripts are usually pretty thin, and the acting usually isn't that good, and the direction is usually probably the strongest part. But I mean, horror movies in general are it's hard to find like a really good quality horror movie scanning through the IMDb 250, I don't think there's a horror movie in the entire list, which is really surprising that would be the one genre that's not on there. So, but I'm going to give it to the 78 Halloween just because they have that opening scene. I almost turned it off because it was just so bad. But I guess some of that's due to the writing, and I did give it the writing award, huh? Boy, yeah. I'm kind of an ass. All right. So there you go. I contradicted myself. I'm done.
Fair enough. Let's go with Gabe.
Yeah, I agree with Tom in that it seems that for some reason in the horror genre that the acting can be subpar, and it can still be a good horror movie. It can be a classic horror movie. And I think the acting in Halloween wasn't terrible. It was serviceable. It served its purpose. They did a good job with it. And I'm going to piss off Sam right now because I know he likes Donald Pleasance. But I feel like his acting was a little bit over the top, and it was a little bit more stage oriented than film oriented. And I felt like it was just a little bit melodramatic, not terrible, but just a little bit. And sometimes, when he did the eyes, I saw evil. It's just like, that's a little bit melodramatic. It's a little over the top for me. I get it. He's evil. He's pure evil.
He came home.
He did. That he did. And then I really thought that the cast. This is going to contradict Tom a little bit. I really thought the cast and the acting for the Rob Zombie version was really pretty good. They had a really excellent cast. They had a lot of good, recognizable actors in there doing a pretty good job. And I felt like their reactions to like the terror and that kind of thing were more plausible. They were more visceral. They were more believable to me. And and this kind of goes in the directing category too, I think. But like in the original version, when some of the people died or after they had died, they ended up cross-eyed. and I thought that was a little bit. I'm like, really? I mean, okay, am I supposed to feel fear or laughter here? I mean, should I be laughing at someone dying? I don't know. Probably not. But they're going cross-eyed, and it's kind of silly. And it seems to me like it was a decision on one level or another, an acting decision or a directing decision that probably wasn't my favorite. So I think from an acting standpoint, I really felt like the acting was pretty solid in the new version. I'm going to have to give my vote to Rob Zombie's version.
All right. Tosh.
So I was looking at it kind of like, okay, the 1978, I was kind of looking at it from like the stars versus the supporting cast. In the 1978, I thought the stars, if you will, the doctor and our head lady, if you will, they were way stronger than the 2007 version. Like I thought Malcolm McDowell, I think that's how you say his name, that played Samuel Lewis. For some reason, when he's on the screen, I hate him. I don't know why. I don't know what movie he was in that pissed me off before, but I cannot stand him. Like, as soon as I saw him, like, oh, great. Like, I hate that guy. I don't know what movie it is, but some movie he pissed me off in, and it stayed with me. So, like, that it was a negative to him already. But
Generations, probably.
Yeah, it could have been.
Time is a fire in which we burn.
That pisses me off, that too. You're right. But the supporting cast for the 1978, the cop and the two best friends and the boyfriend, man, I was so excited to see the best friends and the boyfriend die. Like, they're so whiny and like bitchy, and it's like, and their acting was terrible. I was like, oh god, I cannot wait for them to die. And maybe that was by design. I'm not sure, but like, they just annoyed the hell out of me. And I was like, geez, please let these people die. Now versus the 2007 supporting cast, like. I thought they did a pretty good job. Like the kid actor, the boy, I thought he was way better than the boy in the boy that she was babysitting versus the boy she was babysitting in 1978. They're like kid actors were way better. So it's kind of a toss-up. Like, I think the leads were better in 1978, but the supporting actors were better in the 2007. So, oh, man.
Put your mask on, make a decision.
I'm going to go 2007.
2007. All right.
All
right,
Sam
Sam.
does not agree with me.
Here we go.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right.
It is right here. This is going to be a smackdown.
Go on.
Well, first of all, I want to offer Tom the chance to change his vote for writing, because it is that first 18-minute scenes of exposition that's all, makes him all white trash family that wasn't there in the first one. And the first one gives you that chance to give your own backstory, much as the director gives you the chance to see the gore that's not there. And that's, to me, the beauty of Halloween in the writing. And the acting, I am very fond of Donald Pleasance. I'll make no bones about that. Those scenes stick with me. I've seen this movie so many times. I really, really enjoy watching it. And I like his over-the-top performance. Like, his quotables of, he's gone from here. The evil is gone. Like, you need that over the top. But we get so many, plot points, which I didn't say in the writing, right away. Like, we get the kill and we see Michael Myers for like 30 seconds. But we don't know what his motives are. So when he's, killing and whatnot, we don't know where he's coming from. So everybody interprets that differently. And as far as the performance, I think the Michael Myers here was more, his body language was much more realistic and menacing in some ways than this big professional wrestler that got all beefed up, which doesn't make any sense how he got that big and crazy. But I think one thing that they do allude to in the first one is that, the evil is part of fate in some way, that, he is just pure evil. And that is why he does what he does. Not necessarily that he was molested or insulted or whatnot. But for me, the acting has to come down to Donald Pleasance and Jamie Lee Curtis. Nancy Stevens is the nurse. And, some other performances, like, the girls were kind of annoying, her friends, but I actually liked Lonnie. So, Tosh, you were hating on Lonnie. How dare you, sir? you guest piece of shit. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow, here we go.
And the thing is, that's tame compared to the first 18 minutes of Zombies Halloween, which, it's just dirty, like, to the point of how many fucks are they going to say in the first 30 minutes, where, I respect why he was doing Halloween, because the original inspired him so much in his early days that he wanted to make his version. So, I applaud him for his efforts. But, some of the liberties that he takes with the character of Michael Myers in order to make it a biopic, I guess we'll talk about in the directing round. So, I'm going to have to say acting for the 78 Halloween.
All right.
And it's Donald Pleasance, baby.
You want to give us your favorite Donald Pleasance line?
Okay, I've got some of them written down.
All right.
He was doing very well last night. Maybe someone around here gave him lessons.
Yeah, the driving. Yeah. They did kind of explain that away, did they not?
Bravo. Sam. Yeah, Tom, go ahead.
It was a dual tank, Tosh, so he didn't have to stop for gas.
Oh, there we go.
Those were very popular in the late 70s, trust me. Google it if you want.
There was no way that thing got like maybe five gallons per. It's ridiculous. It'd be more realistic if Mike Myers was pushing it.
Yeah.
Shows up with a car on his back.
My knife's in the trunk.
I think that'd be a really good short film. Is what happened in between his drive to and from. All right, sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
I don't know what I was going to say. Go ahead. I was actually. I was going to. Can I give 2 votes to the acting? Because I just it wasn't good. So if I can double down my vote, I'd like to do that. I don't know.
Double down your vote on acting for. Wait, what? You got me lost, Tom.
Directing, right? We're moving on to directing.
We're
right?
moving on to directing
moving
in a
on.
little bit.
Moving on.
I've lost myself.
All right, fair enough. Kyle Richards, who plays Lindsay Wallace, is the sister of Kim Richards, who appeared in John Carpenter's previous film, Assault on Precinct 13. Where was it? This was good. Oh, half of the $320,000 budget was spent on the Panavision camera, so the film would have a 2:35:1 scope. Donald Pleasance was paid $20,000 for 5 days' work. That's pretty good.
That's actually not too bad. In $1978, I wonder what that's adjusted to. 2011.
3.2 trillion is. I think I did the math. I may be off by 1 or 2 trillion.
He could about 3 of those station wagons.
Yeah. Some of you should know this, but this was Jamie Lee Curtis's first feature film. And I have to say, I can't wait till True Lies comes out. That'll be awesome. Tyler Mane is the tallest actor to portray Michael Myers at a height of 6'9". He is huge. Tosh, you're what, 6'4"?
6'5", yeah.
You're 6'5", and I'm 6'4". That we very rarely ever have to look up at someone. So that would just... I guess I can see maybe the evil just made him larger. The evil within just made him so big. I don't know.
We need to start taking roids.
Yeah. Here it is. Emma Stone auditioned for the role of Laurie Strode. I like me some Emma Stone. So, and actually, you know what? Real quick, Tosh, I didn't really introduce you. I was just like, and Tosh Dillinger, our special guest. You actually helped Gabe out on his film crew. You're part of One Genome Short, correct?
I am. Been on there since day one.
And and you were actually one of our, I hope, many fans of the podcast that is actually guest hosting.
Listen to every one of them.
Thank you.
Yes,
I want to take this time
stuff.
to thank you for listening, and we appreciate it.
And Gabe did not pay me to listen to the podcast at all. Whatever rumors are out there, that's not true.
He pays me to do the podcast.
Right. I did not pay him. I did perform sexual favors, but I did not pay him.
Wait, what?
Oh, he's going blue. He's going blue.
He's going. All right. Well, let's go ahead and we'll move on to directing, and we'll start with I don't know. Let's go with Sam.
The directing styles of these two movies to me are very, very different. Respect to Rob Zombie for telling his tale to a new audience, most of which that had a pre-knowledge of this character, Michael Myers, and what happened in the original Halloween. But I think in being, trying to connect it to these younger audiences, the choices that he made in how he shot his film and how it was, edited, which I guess would be in the overall category as well. It was so quick, and the shots were not really set up. There wasn't a time to digest them. Where in John Carpenter's film, to me, even though it's a tight 91 minutes, you have time to get into the shots. Like, he brings you into the shots and sometimes elongate those sequences to build the tension with, basic camera placement, and then adding to that a simplistic score, but right from the opening frames in the original takes you into the film at a rapid pace. And then when it's done, it's an incredible trip that you've been on. He communicated, John Carpenter, to his actors in a very efficient way, in a very short shoot, what level their terror was on, so that when they were cut together, the actors knew, how scared they needed to be. Of course, it wasn't award, winning acting, but there was a lot of good. He had a lot of good tools to work with. For such a young director, he was so young. This was the biggest independent film that had been released at that time, and for what he had to work with, and also creating and writing credits on the film, he was very connected with it and told the story through his lenses and shots that let you breeze in there and be part of that scene. And his just overall choice of shots and the pace of his film. is what, to me, totally wins the directing category. Like, I like what Rob Zombie did, and again, some of his sequences and some of his build up. But to me, it was, a biopic of Michael Myers, and it was cut very, fast pace, and there's no build up to the kills. There was no. One of my notes is like, there's no misdirection in 2007's version, whereas Halloween, John Carpenter paced to give you a couple beats of misdirection of it's not there, but then steady something happens, and it might not be Michael Myers, and then he also paces some scenes with the music just so that it builds that dread in the audience. He makes you feel, as a director, he makes you feel a certain way. Panic for her. Why are you going over to that house? Don't run that way. Whereas Rob Zombie's cuts are so quick, you're brought along for the ride. And yes, it does have an incredible cast that he's working with there too, but the writing lets him down, so he doesn't have as much as an advantage. And John Carpenter has a really simplistic style and some incredible actors and an incredibly hungry crew, and that's why he wins.
All right. 1 for 78. Let's go to Gabe.
Yeah, well, that's I really like what Sam had to say about that. I mean, and it's clear that John Carpenter, there's kind of a youthful passion to what he's doing in that film, and actually there's really a lot of great stuff in that, considering that it was a very low budget independent film. There's some really good talent on that movie. From directing to cinematography to acting, all the way through it. But as we talked about earlier in the acting part, there were some choices that I didn't quite understand. Like the death scenes. It's like, where are we? Is it supposed to be campy, or is it supposed to be scary? I don't know. These people, when they're dying, they're cross-eyed. I don't know. I don't know what to do here. Am I supposed to? Because I'm laughing, but I haven't been laughing through the rest of the movie. It hasn't been kind of a funny horror movie, So I felt like there were a few choices in the directing from John Carpenter's standpoint that I didn't quite understand. But overall, I'm with Sam. It's pretty solid. It's pretty well done. Now, and like Sam, I have to give kudos to Rob Zombie for taking his version and owning it. Mm-hmm. He took it and made it his own, and he took what inspired him and just kind of took it in a completely different direction. Now, in the end, I admire that, but in the end, I don't know that I really like the direction that he took it. I'm not so happy with the idea of it being kind of a portrait of Michael Myers, because in the end, even though he starts out sympathetic, he's not in the end. And there's the whole gore factor. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting to me that you can have a successful horror movie, an enjoyable horror movie, that really shows almost no gore. There's almost no gore in the original version of Halloween. Like, none.
Yep.
And it's considered a classic horror film. I mean, there's hardly even a splat of blood anywhere in the whole movie. But then Rob Zombie takes it and just kind of goes over the top with it. It's almost excessively gory, and it's excessively disturbing, not only like visually but psychologically. And maybe that's the point, but to me that made it less enjoyable. So I just feel like the addition of the gore, the addition of the profanity, the addition of all that extra nudity. Well, I'll take that back. The nudity was fine. You can add all the nudity you want. But, just the additions of those things just really didn't make me very happy. So I think in the end, I have to give the directing vote to the original, to John Carpenter, and the excellent work he did there.
All right. Let's go with Tosh.
Halloween 1978. I really love how that movie starts with the long shot, and we see it through the killer's eyes, even though we realized a teenager got done with his sex pretty fast, though, because, I mean, that was quick. He was at the front door, and then he was coming down. I mean, that was like a 30-second. That was pretty fast. It was really fast. But it was pretty awesome that he should...
Tom still.
It was.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Is 30 seconds fast?
Jamie Lee Curtis called it the fastest sex on screen ever. But he might have just been really sensitive, you know? He got off. He's a jerk, and he's in high school, so he's like, all right, see you.
Later.
Yeah, I'm so sleepy. I need to go.
I'm going to go play pinball now.
Before I fall asleep. Got a curfew.
No, it was pretty awesome that he shot that in 21 days. I think, nowadays, most movies are shot like, minimum 2 months, and the big budget ones are like, 6 months to a year. And shooting that in 21 days, and with the end product, that's just amazing to me. And then versus 2007, I don't know if this belongs in directing or not, and I'm not sure. I couldn't grasp what year everything was taking place. And I don't know if that was a directing or if that was the writing. It's like we talked about this when we watched it. We just couldn't tell what year it was. I know they had cell phones, so I mean that had to be somewhat present. But then there's like everyone was like in 70s style clothing and stuff or hairdos, and it was just weird. I don't know, that threw me off. And then the shock value that Rob Zombie tried to do, that Gabe and Sam touched on earlier, kind of the same thing. It was kind of overdone. It was like, oh, we need to show gore, more gore. And I appreciated Halloween 1978 not showing any blood because, I mean, you got the same effect, really.
Right.
So I'm going to go with 1978 on directing.
All right.
John Carpenter.
Tom, you're up.
All right. Well, obviously, I got huge problems with both of them. There's a scene where Loomis pulls off these like about 80 miles outside of Haddonfield, and he sees the truck in the side of the road, and the train's coming, and he kind of runs down to look at the truck, and we later on see the body kind of off to the side, and he's running away from the tracks, and this train is coming, and then he steps down the truck, and the train's gone. And I was just kind of like waiting for this train to pass in the background, and I don't know, it was like, really good production value, and then they couldn't get it for the second shot. But that kind of bugged me. But then Rob Zombie, and I'm sorry, Mike, I'm going to take one of your factoids, I imagine, here, but apparently Oliver Stone was originally attached to the movie.
Wow.
I don't know if anybody saw that, but yeah, it's, the new Halloween movie was actually going to have Oliver Stone direct it, which I think would have been pretty awesome. But Rob Zombie made like these really weird choices where something worked in the original and then he changed it for the new one. For example, the ghost sheet scene when the kid goes down to get the beer and then Michael shows up outside the bedroom and the girl's sitting there talking to him, it's like, give me my beer. And she never says, why the hell are you 1.5 feet taller and like 100 pounds heavier? It doesn't even, I mean, and I know that he's under a sheet, but there's a height issue there. It's like, I don't know. But that scene worked in the original one because there's actually a scene where Mike Myers and the guy are face to face and they're both on their feet, and you can actually see a shot where you're like, wow, they're actually kind of similar build and height, and it sets up that later on where and I don't know if that's because I saw the new one first and I was able to watch that a little bit more closely, but I thought that was a pretty good choice. So I wasn't happy with a lot of the changes that Zombie made in terms of stuff that worked in the original. I've spent the entire afternoon listening to Thunder Kiss 65, which I think is actually Rob Zombie's best work with White Zombie. It's a great song. Yeah. Check it out. Just to kind of assure myself that, yes, Rob Zombie is actually a talented individual. Going back to John Carpenter, his stuff is very cliched. And I don't think it's very fair because a lot of the cliche stuff that's in his film has been done by people since then.
Right.
I know that I shot a horror movie called Columbus Day. It was one of the first films I ever did. And I took a bunch of stuff, even the kick-ass piano theme in Halloween, which in my opinion is the best part of the entire movie. But I took stuff, the real cliched stuff from horror movies and used it in my movie. But John Carpenter is one of the ones that did it first, like the use of negative space where, the heroine is kind of off to the side next to this dark doorway, and you're just standing there waiting for the guy to come through the door. You're fully expecting it. And he did that a lot where you're just like, well, if there's going to be a bad guy, he's going to be standing right there. Oh my God, that'd be so cool. And you're fully expecting it. Whereas Rob Zombie, and this is something that he did in the movie, there's a scene at the end after Loomis shoots Michael in the pool, and the two of them are sitting in the car, and it's framed up in such a way that it's Loomis and Lori, and they're kind of off to the right side of the screen, and her passenger side window is just huge on the screen. It's this huge black empty canvas, and you're just staring at it going, here he comes, here he comes, here he comes. And it kind of takes away a little bit from it that, maybe I wish Rob Zombie had come up with a better way to scare us rather than use those cliche things that have kind of been worn out. So I'm going to give it to John Carpenter because he did it first. And a lot of us have, copied some of his stuff since then. And he took these really cliched things that you would think eventually would get boring and made a pretty workable movie out of it. Whereas Rob Zombie did not live up to the challenge of making a horror movie that really kind of scares people in 2007.
All right. Little smactoid here. For 78, the opening shot appears to be a single tracking point of view shot, but there are actually 3 cuts. The first is when the mask goes on. The second and third are after the murder has taken place and the shape is exiting the room. This was done to make the point of view appear to move faster. So 2007, we've got one of the most complex scenes in the film was shot on Monday, February 26th of 2007 on the campus of Los Angeles County City College. The day's shooting facilitated the use of 160 extras and about 100 crew people. Sorry, I'm having a problem. I'm wearing my new reading glasses, and I'm just... In an early scene in the film, the movie White Zombie is playing on TV. The band White Zombie, whose name comes from the film, is where director Rob Zombie first gained attention in the 80s and the 90s. And I do have to say, I remember way back in the 90s when a friend of mine and his brother were putting on their mosh gear to go down to, we used to have a place called Harry Mary's. Does anyone remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they went down and saw White Zombie, like when they were, not even big yet. And they were going down and they were playing the album. They were playing Thunder Kiss 65. And yeah, I just remember that. And this is my first time ever watching a live action Rob Zombie movie. I watched that El Super Bistro or whatever that he did. It was fun, but no, that's all I got. I'll shut up now. Let's move on to overall. You know what? We'll start with Tosh.
Excellent. One thing I was going to say, I forgot to say earlier. If you're a Jamie Lee Curtis character and you saw a guy on the street with a mask, 4 times, why would you just brush that off? I mean, wouldn't you call someone or tell someone? If I saw someone like that in my neighborhood and I'm a guy, I'd still call someone. 4 times, it's this guy with a weird mask. Oh, he's no big deal. Just no big deal. Just ignore him. He's fine. Just a neighbor. He's gardening. No big deal. Doesn't want to get stuff in his face. Wears a mask. No big deal. No. Overall, I am going to go with Halloween 1978. It was the first, and it was tried to copy from Rob Zombie and did not accomplish that. So short and sweet.
Short and sweet.
Yep.
78. All right. Gabe.
Yeah, I feel like there's all kinds of things that I forgot to say that I wanted to say earlier, but I'll try to keep it short and sweet too. Yeah, it's interesting. I really have to give kind of hats off to Rob Zombie because Tom kind of touched on it before. I think he's really actually a very talented guy. He's clearly musically talented. And then, to jump into the whole filmmaking realm and do as well as he has, I really have to give him a lot of credit. And I do really feel like he did take this and make it his own. And you have to respect that because, how many times have we seen remakes where they didn't really do that? They respected the original so much that they were scared to put their own personal stamp on it. We were talking when we were watching these. We were talking about the remake of Psycho, where the remake of Psycho was a shot-for-shot remake, and I'm like, well, what's the point of that? I mean, we don't need that. I mean,
Exactly.
what did you do that so we could have it in color? Did you do that so we could have inferior actors? Why did we do this? It's a film school exercise. It's not really making a movie.
It's way better in HD.
way better. Yeah.
HD.
Psycho was better in HD. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see his insanity more clearly that way. But it's the kind of thing where it's like I give a lot of respect to Rob Zombie for taking this and making it something new. But that being said, I think I'm with everybody else. Halloween is a classic. It's an original. It's really kind of extraordinary on a certain level. It's like who goes out and makes an independent movie for $300,000 and then makes whatever they made? What was it? Do you remember, Tosh? What they made on it?
Oh boy, I had it up here.
It was just ridiculous. And
I'll work on it.
So
Keep talking.
It's really an original.
60 million.
60 million.
Is that what it was?
I mean, we gave $5 to it from Kmart on Saturday.
Yeah, I know. They made
Well worth it. Well, MF
they
and worth
made
it.
$60 million and $5.
They need to update that.
Yeah. They don't have the latest figures out there.
Well,
yet,
and especially back
going
then,
up.
you never heard of it doing that. Nowadays, it's almost getting to the point where once a year you're going to have that low budget film that comes in and makes millions of dollars. We had it with Blair Witch. We had it with wasn't Paranormal Activity one of those as well?
Big box.
Yeah.
Anybody?
It was a lower, yep.
Yeah. So but I agree. It's rare. It was especially a lot rarer back then. But
Yeah. So I have to say that Halloween '78 was it was original. It was classic. Well, it is classic now. Maybe not it wasn't then, but it is now, and it was successful. And I really have to give my overall vote to the '78 version of it.
all right, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to kind of pretty much back up what you guys have said. I mean, kudos to Rob Zombie. I mean, first of all, how many people would even dare to take one of the best films of any genre? And I mean, Halloween is certainly that. I mean, it's certainly probably one of the top 3 horror movies of all time. And have the guts to remake it and put it back out there, knowing that the only people that are going to go see it are people that are big fans of the original. I mean, I don't know that a lot of Casablanca fans would be rushing to the theater to check out a new Casablanca film that's, trying to think of the equivalent. Jennifer Lopez's take on Casablanca. So,
Oh God, that sounds awful.
Oh, yeah, I threw up my mouth a little bit. But he did it, and he took $15 million and turned it into $80 million, and I mean, good for him. And it was a good movie, and it kept my interest once we got past kind of all the redneck background stuff. That being said, I mean, he owes so much to the original Halloween, and it is still probably one of the best horror films of all time. And this is coming from somebody who's not a fan of the genre, but the John Carpenter's piano score for the original Halloween is something that I think has actually risen above the film itself and kind of become its own, its own iconic piece of work that there's not. I would say it's. I don't know. Would you say it's one of the top 10 movie themes of all time?
I would
mean,
have
it's
to
certainly
say so. I mean, it's up there with Jaws.
Most recognizable, definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's certainly one of those themes that actually evokes emotion in people that even people that haven't seen the movie. You hear that and that is a score from a horror movie. Perhaps like Psycho's theme is probably up where it is. So for that, I'm going to give my final vote to Halloween '78.
All right. Mr. Donald Pleasance, you're last.
I saw this 6-year-old child with this pale, blank, emotionless face.
I'm going to change my vote, Sam.
Okay, sorry. I'm going to give you some random notes, which overall category is really, to me, a random note catcher.
All right.
There's so much going on for the original Halloween, and I join everybody else with the kudos to Rob Zombie. I respect his earlier films, The House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Reject. I respect those, and as a unique and original views and a new, kind of style. But the adaptation overall, to me, it takes a lot of liberty with the original story, and there's so many things overall that are going for me for the 78 version. One of them that we haven't mentioned yet is the director of photography, Dean Koondy.
Oh.
And he is amazing. He really helped John Carpenter tell the vision, shot it with multiple types of lenses, really evoked a feel with his work. He really knew that he was making the audience feel that they were claustrophobic or that there was open parts of the frame, which everybody kind of alluded to earlier. Dean Koondy went on after this to do Halloween 2 and actually Halloween 3, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But also did films like, Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3, Jurassic Park, Apollo 13. I mean, this guy, John Carpenter, had some young talent that was eager to work, as was he, becoming more than a triple threat in directing the film, writing the film, scoring the film, which, that score is really not only what sold the movie, but really sold all of the audience, because frame one, you fade up with that music and you're like, we're coming off on some kind of a spooky ride, and it takes you all the way through. It cues in just the right point, simplistically with, pianos and other very subtle cues. When it originally came out, it was Halloween in 78 was panned by the critics. Mm-hmm. They said it was horrible. They said it was stupid. They said it was too low budget, but then the Village Voice printed a review that compared it to Psycho and pointed out some of the homages to Alfred Hitchcock, and then all of the reviewers re-reviewed it and praised it for its new interpretation of a new genre. And as Tom said earlier, it did set the precedence of a lot of these techniques in horror films. And what all of you have pointed out is that the way that they use the gore, it's left to the audience. There really is no blood. The actors talk about there's really no blood on that set. You don't see the knife penetrate when he's killing Judith at the beginning, but you see the blood on the knife and you see the knife going in, so you make the connection. A shot, very similarly used later for Texas Chainsaw Massacre when, Leatherface puts this lady on a hook, and you see the hook, but you never see the hook going through her. I think today Rob Zombie probably would interpret it to you'll see it go through her, you see the blood spurt out and some of the intestines and whatnot, and sadly that's what some audiences need. But Halloween is scaring college kids and younger kids and people that are watching it for the first time this Halloween cycle, because it's simple and it lets you decide what the scary parts are. It builds that anticipation. And that's why people are going to continue to watch this film for the next 100 years. So overall, I have to give it to 78 Halloween. I have to mention Ben Tramer. I love the name Ben Tramer as a character. And isn't that Devon Graham? And Devon Graham supposedly was in the double tank station wagon at one point, but it was really Michael Myers. And the whole fact about the mask, which we didn't even talk about, there were some points in the Rob Zombie version where Michael Myers as a kid was wearing the Michael Myers mask, and to me that was absolutely ridiculous. I am a fan of the genre, and to see this little kid in this mask, it was just ridiculous. And the fact that he hid it, I liked it in the original. He just stole a mask from a store with some knives, and because he was evil, basically come back to kill his sister, which we don't find out until the next sequel. But Halloween set the precedence that made zombies version possible, and as noteworthy as it is for certain techniques, have to go with the original.
All right. Wasn't it? I'll ask you guys. Wasn't it Hitchcock that actually said that he doesn't like to show that much because whatever he shows you cannot live up to your imagination or something? Something along those lines. I probably just butchered it, but have you guys ever heard that?
I have. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that I always try to live by, I guess. But John Carpenter was kind of the hero of Robert Rodriguez, who is the hero of mine. So just from how I've gone through films throughout my life, John Carpenter's been kind of a big part of my life. And actually, Halloween was the first John Carpenter film I saw. So I've always had, that's always been top of my list, like I said earlier. But I have to say, just for my vote, for my 2 cents, I enjoyed a lot of the parts of Rob Zombie's take on it, but I had a lot more issues than I had pros with it. So I enjoyed it, but not as much as I enjoyed the 78 version. I can watch that all the time, the 78 version. Plus, it's got Jamie Lee Curtis in it. That helps. Much of the credit for the concept must go to the producer, Irwin Yablans. Am I saying that right? Who had the concept originally for a horror film called The Babysitter Murders. Upon further research, Yablans discovered, to his surprise, that no previous film had been titled Halloween, and thought it would be a great concept to set these babysitter murders on the holiday.
What about Mustafa Cod? We haven't even talked about Mustafa Cod.
I was actually going to say that here. The wealthy film producer Mustafa Cod had immediately little interest in the film and helped make it primarily due to the enthusiasm of John Carpenter and Irwin Yablans. However, when the film turned out to be a huge box office smash, Akkad saw an opportunity and facilitated every Halloween sequel. This does not include the 2 remakes, which were produced after his death in 2005. Which his son, was it his son? His son,
yeah,
right?
His son was attached.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. That
well, he was a really cool guy. Like I'm sorry to take away someone's time, but he took a real chance, and yes, he did see it and later capitalized. But even John Carpenter and Deborah Hill were contractually forced into doing a sequel, and a lot of the money that they thought they would get from the initial release, they didn't get from their distribution deal. So they did the sequel and came on as they have a co-writing credit in it. They came on and actually made the money that they should have got, when the studios hit it big on some independent small studio. But Mustafa Cod, and cleverly so, like kept it alive, and the fans did as well. And he loved Michael Myers. And once he saw John Carpenter's vision and what was happening, he couldn't have been more help in facilitating getting it into more theaters as it continued to grow with moviegoers in 1978.
He was really active with the fan community as well, if I've read everything correctly. Let's see, for a little more smactoids about the 2007 film, the inclusion of the plotline about Michael Myers' early days at the mental institution under the care of Sam Loomis is a nod to a plotline added in by John Carpenter for the TV viewing of the original Halloween. As told by Carpenter, when the original film was first sold to TV, they demanded added scenes to replace the edited portions of the murder scenes. So Carpenter recalled Donald Pleasance, the original Sam Loomis, to film scenes of him at the hospital taking care of Michael.
They also matted out the original kill scene of Judith so you don't see her boobies.
Oh my.
Like they made the eye holes a lot bigger so you couldn't see any nips or the actual, obviously they cut the tit shot out. But.
Right. Nips and tits.
Nips.
In the opening scene of the movie, the song God of Thunder by Kiss is played, and young Michael Myers is seen wearing a Kiss t-shirt. Kiss is a major influence on Rob Zombie's music career and the inspiration for the makeup and costuming for his band White Zombie. So, there you go. Little few smactoids to chew on. So now, while I try to do math, I will hand it over to you, gentlemen, for your recommendations. We'll go ahead and who wants to go first? Anyone?
Yeah, I can go first.
All right, go ahead, Tom.
Normally the picks I kind of use it to expose a film that's kind of been underseen, but I want to depart from that a little bit and talk about my favorite horror movie. And I'm going to get a lot of groans from the horror movie buffs out there, but my favorite horror movie is Wes Craven's Scream from 1986.
No, that's a good pick.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
Here's why. In 1986, the movie-going audience had kind of become really cynical and wishy-washy towards horror movies. And Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson had came up with this idea to create this self-aware script that was heavy on irony, and it was basically a postmodern horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it was taking horror movie films fans and their knowledge and their history, and it was like bringing in this a bonus feature, I guess, is lack of a better word, to the movie theater with them to enjoy Scream. And the people that knew horror movies better were rewarded when they were watching the movie, and it was a stroke of genius. It was like an interactive horror movie where, it was like a treat for these people that had kind of become a little, blasé, and horror movies don't scare me anymore.
Right.
And instead of focusing on the shock and the scaring and stuff, Wes Craven decided to entertain them. And I think that's why a lot of horror films don't really like Scream or give it much credit, because it's not real heavy on the shock and scare and more on the, entertainment and humor. And that's fine. Maybe that's why I like it so much. But in my mind, I thought Wes Craven had such a pulse on his horror fans to know exactly what it would take to get them into the theater and to entertain them. And that's why my pick today is Scream.
All right. That's a good pick, I think. I love Scream. Top five horror. Let's go to Gabe.
Well, I'm going to go with a movie that's somewhat of a horror film in a certain sense. It's definitely got its scary parts.
Okay.
And I'm not sure it's underseen, but it's a movie that I really enjoy and has a lot of style and is very compelling. I'm going to suggest that anyone who hasn't seen Pan's Labyrinth should go see it. I think it's a really beautiful film. It's very beautiful in a disturbing kind of way. I don't know. It is somewhat of a horror film. There are all these kind of mythical, strange creatures that show up in this girl's imagination, and to help her deal with even more frightening realities in her life. And it's a foreign film. I'll warn you. It is subtitled, but it's well worth it because it's a beautiful story, beautifully told, and so I would highly recommend Pan's Labyrinth.
All right. Was Andy Serkis a part of that?
That's a good question. I think he may have played the fawn, or the kind of the main creature. I think that might have been him. I don't recall right off the top of my head, but
I don't know if it was.
Do some research.
I don't know if it was you guys, but I was having a discussion with someone that Andy Serkis should get some kind of Oscar nomination for all the work he's done. I think it was someone that went and saw Planet of the Apes and said that his performance of the main ape was just fantastic. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's go to Sam.
Well,
I thought Michael got you.
Recommendation. I want to watch Halloween 2 right away, which I happen to have on DVD, so I'm going to do it because I love the Halloween genre or series of films. And even though they get progressively worse as you get farther, although there's a really big resurrection at Halloween H2O,
The film I'm going to recommend is an oldie but goodie. It's actually the third installment of the Halloween series, one that is panned by critics and some fans alone. But it's kind of found its own niche within that horror base. It's basically about a large Halloween mask-making company that has plans to kill millions of American children with something sinister hidden inside their Halloween mask. They've got a catchy jingle. For Silver Shamrock, this company that makes it. For those of you that haven't seen it, it is very campy, but to me, it's a jewel that I watch every year around this time. I'm actually going to watch it this week. Halloween 3. It'll be interesting to see what there is talk of Halloween 3 Rob Zombie in 3D, and it would also be a takeoff of this other weird subplot that's sans Michael Myers. Actually, that's something I could get excited about, and maybe this underlooked movie, I could see Zombie taking the different story an interesting way. But if you haven't seen Halloween 3, watch it. There's some real fun stuff in there, and there's no Michael Myers, but you'll have a great time.
All right. How many Halloweens did they make, Sam? Total?
8.
8? That's
8.
Counting H2O, and then what is it?
H2O was 7, and then Halloween sucky with
Resurrection, wasn't it?
Yeah, Resurrection. Yeah. They really, but it's always been about the money with the Halloween series.
Yeah.
The reason the bad ones got made is because they made a lot more than they cost. They had a built-in audience, but it was, and to some aspect, the reboot was inevitable because the money is there. There's an audience. So even small films like Halloween 3, which was panned and whatever, it made the studio a lot of money for what a lot of people would consider, not necessarily an A movie.
Right.
So when you're counting 8, you're not counting the remakes, or are you counting the remakes?
I'm not counting the remakes. So there'd be 8 in the original series, and then there'd be 2 remakes as of now.
So 10 total. Then.
10 total.
Wow.
10 incarnations of Halloween.
Okay. Tosh, what you got?
I'm going with unknown. It's called Trick or Treat. It's trick apostrophe R treat. It just so you know, it was filmed in 2007 by Michael Daughtry. He wrote it and directed it. He's best known for he wrote X-Men 2. Originally, the film was slated to release on October 5th, 2007, but Daughtry, who wrote Superman Returns, tanked. So the studio Warner Brothers got like wet feet, and so they just pushed it out a year, and they pushed it another year, and finally released it on DVD in 2009. Let me tell you this. It is fantastic. No, it is really good. There's like 4 interwoven stories that occur on Halloween night. There's like a high school principal that's a secret life as a serial killer, a college virgin that's trying to meet the guy, and a group of kids that pull a mean prank, and a character named Sam. And Sam's very important to this whole thing. And Sam Twomey, you probably like this. He kind of is in everything, directing what things are happening. And on Rotten Tomatoes, it's 85%.
Wow,
so it's
really?
pretty solid. And it's on Netflix, so you can watch it now. It's fantastic. It's directed well. It's shot beautifully. And I do not know why they did not release it. Another big thing is it was supposed to go up against one of the Saw movies, and Saw is just stupid. So they got scared. But it is fantastic.
All right.
The funny thing is, Tosh, I just watched that like a month and a half ago, and it is on Netflix streaming, and it's definitely worth a watch. It's really well done.
Yeah, it doesn't have any like huge name actors or actresses, but it's not like campy or anything, but it's fun. It's a fun Halloween movie, and I really recommend it.
I was thinking of an old 90s slasher film that was like that, just it was direct to video, and I think it was called Trick or Treat. I know there's one called Satan's Little Helper, and there's also like Santa's Sleigh, and it's like didn't they do an Uncle Sam one too? I can't remember what that was.
Yeah, there's one that's on my Netflix queue that's a Thanksgiving one. It's like a killer turkey.
You kidding?
Awesome.
Maybe we'll have to do like a special audio recording session for that one or something.
That would be all right.
That'd be
But
awesome.
it doesn't kill you violently. It just puts you gently to sleep.
Oh gosh.
I want to see. I want to see him make the Thanksgiving Day trailer from Grindhouse into an actual film.
Yeah, the Eli Roth one.
Yeah.
Black Thanksgiving or
yeah,
something?
Yeah, that was like my favorite trailer out of all of them.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So mine is actually going to be a film that was actually shown in both of our films from tonight. And I have to say, for being 50, I can't do math, 55 years old, it holds up pretty well. And that's The Forbidden Planet. It is directed by Fred M. Wilcox, starring Walter Pidgeon, Anne Francis, and a very young Leslie Nielsen as the commander of the spaceship that travels to this forbidden planet. And it's actually based on the play The Tempest by William Shakespeare. And also, I forgot, Ed would be really unhappy with me if I forgot, it is also the first film of Robbie the Robot, who went on to have, I don't know, he was in like almost 20 films, I believe. If you have not seen The Forbidden Planet, watch it. Go rent it and watch it. I watched it recently on my HD set, and it looks beautiful. So, yeah, there you go. You guys want to know who won?
Yes,
Yeah.
we're ready.
Okay.
Although I would like to make a quick note. I did do a little research, and it was actually an actor named Doug Jones who played some of the characters in Pan's Labyrinth. And you would probably also know him from the Hellboy series where he played Abe Sapien.
Okay, there you go.
Now, obviously, it wasn't his voice, but it was him doing the acting. So,
okay, cool.
Anyway, just quick note.
Thanks, Gabe.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is Halloween 1978.
Really?
Yeah.
Can we get can you do a retally? I think it was close.
13-3.
13-3.
Yeah, 13-3.
Any hanging chads?
No hanging
Or
chads.
dimpled chads, maybe?
Maybe a couple dimples here and there, but yeah, definitely not hanging.
Woo.
Oh my!
I told everybody.
All right. So, oh, wow. Okay, I need to ask you guys real quick before we go. I want to know if there was going to be a throwdown fight, who would win between Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Jason, and I don't know who's one more. Let's do a battle royale. Pinhead. There you go, and Pinhead. Or wait, no, Leatherface. Leatherface. There you go.
Leatherface is a pussy.
Does this fight take place in reality or in dreams?
That's a good. How about Imagination Land?
Imagination.
Yes.
Imagination Land.
I got Butters.
Jeez, fellers. I love Butters. He's my boy.
So
guys.
who I need to know who would
hamburgers. It's the Butters Show next time on Cinesmack.
Oh my! What have I done? All right, so who do you guys think would win? Because they already did the Freddy versus Jason thing.
Yeah, well, and that was actually a pretty good film for, if you're a horror fan.
It was entertaining. I'm not a horror fan, but I watched it, and I was
just the fact that it got made after all the years that it had been working from both Paramount and New Line. Like, it took forever to get those studios to agree on this crossbreed, but it was a lot better than, I don't know. I would say I have to root for Freddy.
Freddy.
They're always the other two are stronger, but I love his wit. I definitely have to say Freddy.
Okay, Tosh.
Man, I go Freddy too. I think he'd be funnier to listen to, and the other ones don't really talk, so it'd be kind of pointless. Freddy would probably just sit back and watch the other ones kill each other, then he'd just go in for the kill at the end, the headshot.
All right, Tom.
I'd probably go Jason because he's got more movies, and Mike Myers got taken out by a coat hanger.
Very valid
Down
point.
but not out. Down but not out.
All right, not out. But I mean,
very
Freddy's
sharp coat hanger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
dirty.
Gabe.
It was dirty coat hanger.
Rusted. Rusted. The affection he has out of that.
Is that a new position I'm not familiar with?
The rusty coat hanger?
Well, you can make it up if you want to.
It is now.
Yeah, post pictures.
Oh, yeah.
You can
Gabe.
contact me on thedirtyhanger.com. Buy the t-shirts online. Thank you.
Better take the file. I'm gonna.
All right, Gabe, who would you pick?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. Yeah. I don't know. Well, I think we have to make a distinction between the Michael Myers 78 and the Michael Myers 2007.
Okay, let's go Michael Myers 78, the original.
78. Okay. Well, in that case, he's not so intimidating. He's quiet, he's patient, he's calculating, but he's not really all that intimidating. So, that's a good question. I like Freddy. I mean, he's got kind of he's got some very useful weapons. Those blades on his fingers, I think, would put him ahead.
They're good for fighting, but not for holding babies.
Right, yeah, or picking your nose.
Or picking your nose, yeah. Or trying to get dirt out of your eye. Or
masturbating's a bitch.
You do it once.
I told everybody!
Dirtyhanger.com's available, just so you know.
Somebody get it. We'll all make money. I guarantee it.
Oh,
I don't know what we're going to put on there, but...
Wait till Dirty Hanger the movie. We'll even review it like against Citizen Kane, and it will win.
Dirty Hanger the movie. This is wow.
Just something to look
Where have
forward
I
to,
lost
especially
control?
to all our listeners out there. You can get in on the ground floor right now.
Dirty Hanger. Just send us $1 million apiece. All right. Well, we would appreciate it if you could leave us a review on iTunes or whatever podcasting service you use, or send us $1 million for Dirty Hanger the movie. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cinesmack. Is there any way people can reach you guys? Tom?
Yes, everybody can check out OscarRadar.com, which is up and live. And the new things we got this year, we have Best Actress and Best Actor radars going up.
Oh, my.
And we also have a weekly Film of the Week where we're going to take an Oscar movie and we'll have the trailer up. We'll have when it's going to be released, limited and wide, some facts about the movie, some pictures from it, and then chances that it might have in various categories. So OscarRadar.com is up and live and tracking the Oscars picks this year. So we already got our first predictions up right now.
Right on. Who's on there right now?
Right now for Best Actor, we're looking at Gary Oldman for Best Actor. He could get his first ever Oscar nomination.
That's so hard to believe. That. Yeah.
Meryl Streep will probably get her 17th nomination and her first win in 30 years. And Best Picture right now, it's early, but extremely loud and incredibly close. The new Tom Hanks movie about some events that take place after September 11th looks very, very good. So that one's up there, but things change every week. Come back, right. Come by, check it out.
All right. Gabe?
Well, as usual, I'm not that easy to find. I like it that way. But you can find me on Facebook. You can go through the CineSmack Facebook page, or you can find me, Gabriel Rowald, on Facebook. I do have a Twitter, but I don't tweet a lot. Not yet, anyway. Maybe I'll get into that someday. Maybe Tosh will show me how to do it. Tosh is a master tweeter, I guess.
He was actually thinking of changing his name to Tweet Dillinger. All right, Tosh.
You can find me on Twitter, because Gabe just said so, at tshed4041. It stands for Tool Shed Long Story.
Fair enough. Sam.
Oh, well, you can definitely find me on Facebook, or you can email me at samtwami@gmail.com. Thank you to all of the panel and to the referee. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks to you guys. This has been great. Tosh, thanks again for joining us. I'm glad you could.
Yay.
Even though it is kind of a sad day that Mark's lost at sea, hopefully they find him. Don't know when that's going to be, though.
Hey, Mike.
I hope he's alive, too. Yeah.
If anybody's looking for our Facebook page, they can find it just by going to dirtyhanger.com. Taken care of, it's done.
Nice. Are you kidding me?
We'll get Trevor to work on the logo right away.
That's awesome. All right. Yeah, I'll get a logo.
It's registered. It's already forwarded to our Facebook page. More to come.
Nice. Very cool.
I love 2011.
Oh, this is fantastic. All right. Next episode, join us as we throw Blade Runner in the ring with the Maltese Falcon. This is going to be awesome. I think this is going to be a good time. It's Harrison versus Humphrey. So, for Gabe, Tosh, Sam, Tom, myself, Donald Pleasance.
He's gone from here. The evil is gone.
Thanks for listening. Oh, Sam.
Are you all right? You're all right?
Yes, I'm okay.
He's gone. He's gone from here. The evil is gone.
This has been a test of the Southsiders Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsiders Studios.